very excited that we can do this. And also, as Lisa said, she's going to be presenting this at NCCBA conference next week. So we get a little preview of it. But I know there's just a lot of folks that can't travel to that conference this year for a number of reasons. And so I'm really grateful that we get to bring this really kind of like celebration of books and kid-approved books to a virtual space, and that Lisa and her team's good work can kind of land in as many people as possible. So I am grateful to have you here and talking a little bit about this. And let me switch over to this other screen. No one's told me so far what you're excited to read. Do you not have any plans for what you're going to read in October? None yet? Okay. I'm going to read Brene Brown's new book. That's what's on my tip top of the list. I have another one I'll show you here that's a little bit more like October themed. But it's kind of always fun. If you go in your Google Doc that I shared, will you grab the link here for where it says do this quick Google poll? I was curious to know, and I'm going to introduce Lisa while you're doing this, but I was curious to know how many of you have participated in the North Carolina Children's Book Awards before? And what age group are you kind of excited to learn a little bit about? So I'm curious about this. I'm sure Lisa will enjoy having this information. But as a quick introduction, then we are excited to have Lisa join us. Like I said earlier, the North Carolina Children's Book Awards, as she will explain in a lot more detail, which is what I'm very excited about, celebrates books and are nominated by and voted on right here in North Carolina by our student readers. So I think that's one of the coolest things about this. And I think it's really exciting that we have somebody who is, an integral part of that team to share with us not only how the books are chosen and what the books are this year, but also about a lot of the activities that are kind of cooked into the choices that we have here. So what I see is, it's because I'm showing this instead. Let me present over here. As I'm sitting there telling Lisa, I was like, oh, I just always use this. And here's why. So as I'm going to vote, I'm going to say, I did surface letter. I had students who would vote, but I didn't do it like as a big activity. And I'm excited about both. So looks like we've got a little bit of everybody, Lisa. Some people are here to learn and some are all in on it. So that's exciting. And then most people are excited about both. And I think if you are mostly a picture book user, that just know that some of these junior books also kind of have that bridge over, and I'm sure that Lisa's going to tell us about that as well. And then I wanted to open, if you're okay with this, with a little activity around one of the books. So this is a hint to one of the books that is on the list, but will you tell me in the chat, when you hear the word basement, what comes to mind? And if you're listening to the recording, just take a minute to think about it. Here's what comes to mind for me. The scene in Home Alone, when Kevin goes into the basement and the big furnace makes the scary noises and it freaks him out. That's always what I think of when I hear the word basement. Never really scared me very much, but that part of the movie, I could see why it freaked him out a little bit. So a basement is actually a big part of one of the books that is on this list. So I wanted to kick us off with this. I told Lisa, I was like, should I do like an open activity? She doesn't even know what I'm doing. But I wanted to do something about one of the books, and this is the one that stood out to me. So we're going to look at the book, Things in the Basement. Okay, this book is, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Earlier this week, I asked Lisa about it, and I hopped on to see what books were currently available on NC Kids or the Level Up Library. This one was not, but I still checked it out anyways. So like at least a sample. So I'm going to open up a sample and I'm going to show it to you in just a second. But while I show it to you, I would like for you to notice about the colors. There's something kind of like, as you kind of see here in the title, in the cover of the book, color has a lot to do with kind of the mood, if you will, of the book. So notice the color. I want you to kind of pay attention, like what do you learn about the character in the first couple pages that I'm going to show you? And are there any like sensory cues, right? So like I said earlier, when I hear the word basement, I think of Kevin and that weird like this kind of screechy noise that happens and then like the roar of the furnace, right? That's a sensory thing for me. I want you to notice that when we're looking here at things in the basement, all right? So if you are just joining us, I think we have a couple people who just hopped in. Hello, welcome. All the links that you need are in the short link that I just put in the chat. And I'm getting ready to show you all a book from the list, actually. So we're kind of doing a little opening activity if you just hopped in. So hop on the notes and you'll be able to follow along with us. But I just went here to read a sample. I'm not logged in, didn't have the book checked out, but thought this might be a good thing that you could probably show your students as well without them having to check out the books, right? So again, you're looking for things like the color of the pages. What do you notice about this character? What kind of the story do you build? And then third is I can't remember. Oh, sensory. What are like some of the sensory things that you notice? Okay, so we're just going to flip through Things in the Basement. This is by Ben Hatke and opening page. I'm going to go kind of fast. I'm not going to go really slow, but just so you know. You notice the creak? It tells us sound, right? We can't hear the sound, but it tells us sound. Another creak. So color changes too. Do you notice this? This is what I meant by color. So you're seeing the yellow, then it's dark, and we're almost to where the sample ends. So just know we're about to the end of this sample. I love this part. And the underwear on the head, because tell me every kid's not going to giggle when they see that part. Also reminds me of one of my favorite October books, which is Creepy Pair of Underwear. And then this is it. This is where it ends. Okay, so my question for you, what did you notice about the color? Anyone want to share anything? We're quiet. Come on, librarians, I know you. I noticed that the light changed. I called that out, right? As soon as he hit this light, the light changes. So sensory, right? Sometimes we don't always like pay attention to that, I don't think, in graphic novels, but we have these sensory elements. I pointed out some of the sound, right? A lot of sounds and things going on here. What did you notice about Milo? Anyone pick anything up about Milo? Mm-hmm. He is nervous. I think it's cool that we can pick that up. I talk about that a lot with graphic novels when people try to tell me they're not real books. I say, well, kids learn a lot about emotions. They learn a lot about body language. So Lisa, you're 100% right. And nerves definitely show up, right, on the page. He's a brother, right? We see that mom has got two little ones, which is why he's being asked to go run downstairs and find the missing sock, right? So in just a few pages, I feel like there's a lot. Yes, we don't see his eyes. That's another interesting thing about this. I noticed that too, and I don't know why yet. I haven't read the whole book, but I'll tell you, it took me this much of just sampling it and then doing a little learning about this book. I went right, Lisa, you're gonna be so proud. I went right to the library. I checked it out yesterday because I was like, I need to know what happens next. I thought this was a snake. That would be another fun thing to ask the kids would be, what did he pull out of the wall? Because to me, I thought that was a snake skin. And I was also like, Nope. I kind of wanted to know what happens next. It's a sock. I will tell you it's a sock, and there's something in the sock. Okay. But I think this is really kind of a fun story of just like showing. It reminds me of the snowman. It reminds me of Raymond Briggs' The Snowman. So much is happening in very few words, right? And that book doesn't even need words. So I wanted to start with this book because I feel like it's very evocative of what season it is and everything, but it's such a fun book, really, to kind of get started. So let me ask you one more thing to participate with this a little bit more. Using these 3 emoji hints that I'm giving you, can you come up with one sentence about what you think happens next in this story? So using a flashlight, a skull, and a piece of artwork. I haven't read it more, so I'm gonna have to read it to tell. I don't even know. Like mine would be as original as yours. I don't know. I'm making y'all think too hard for a Thursday afternoon. Hi, Tina. I'm going to put a link in the chat so that you have access to our resources. We just did a little preview of a graphic novel, so they're trying to come up with what happens next, but we're getting ready to pass it to Lisa, so you're here just in time. See, I think I might have to just move these to like 3:15 from now on. That's when everybody can join. Julie, I'm putting the link in the chat for all of the resources we're talking about, so you can join us. All right, no one's, if you end up putting something in the chat for your story, I'd love to hear about it. But here's why I did this, okay? I wanted to dig into one of the stories personally, but I also, like I said, looked at this list and I was like, man, these look like some good books. I've read a lot of these books and I can imagine doing a lot with them. Both activities that I just walked you through are actually from this handbook. And I would imagine Lisa's going to tell you about this handbook. So I went to the page where you'll see for the Junior Book Awards here that I went to this specific page around things in the basement. And I took 2 activities that were recommended and I did them with you. So I wanted you to get a chance to kind of see how these can be done with students, with readers. So it's kind of fun to do it as adults too. So it might be a good thing to do if you are a leader of a library group or you have PLC time. You might be able to bring this to your team and let them walk through one of the activities as well. But why don't you just see what this looks like? And I thought the 3 emojis thing was a really fun thing that was recommended. So I modified it a little bit, but same kind of concept. So and on that note, I'm going to actually stop sharing and let Lisa share and talk to you a little bit more about this program. But in the meantime, while she's bringing her slides up and getting situated on your document that looks like this, you should have one that has a little heart on it that says open up this whiteboard. And move a heart. So you should be able to just, in this Canva whiteboard, grab a heart and move it to one of the books that you are excited to see on this list. And I didn't tell you, Lisa, I totally stole one of your really cute pictures from your website. I hope that's okay that I put it on there. I wanted people to know who you were and to be able to recognize you if they see you at NC SLAMA. So made you recognizable. So if you, I'll put this in the chat and let Lisa, if you want to go ahead and start working on the screen share on your side. Hopefully you all can use that Canva link. And if you're watching the recording, you can do that too. You are welcome to move a heart to one that you're excited to see. But it's kind of a quick poll just to kind of get an idea of what people are excited about. I was really excited to see a few of them, so I've already moved hearts. Perfect.
Are
We
we
see your
good?
whole screen. Yeah, we see your whole screen, and I see people moving hearts. So already there's a lot of hearts on heart on Buffalo. I know you're navigating your screen, so I'm just telling you there's a heart on Buffalo and Scott Rankin's Last Dragon of Mars. That one is definitely a big hit. And Hummingbird by Natalie Lloyd. I agree with that one. I haven't read Cindy Baldwin yet. I need to read that one. But it's fun to watch you guys move these around. All right, Lisa. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing about this program. I'm very excited about this.
All right. Well, I'm super excited to be here. I got the opportunity last spring to be a part of the SLMC cohort with Molly. And so made some great connections. If you ever get a chance to join the cohort, I wish I had done it sooner. This is my 18th year in the library. I work at a primary school in Harnett County, North Harnett Primary School. But this is my 29th year teaching. So I absolutely love the library. I absolutely love the North Carolina Children's Book Award Committee. So I have presented for several years at conference. So if you've been before, you might have seen our team of people there. A couple years ago, I had a chance to step up and share the co-chair position with Wendy Moorhead, who is another librarian here in Harnett County. And then we also have a public librarian chair. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the North Carolina Children's Book Award Committee works, and then share our exciting titles with you. If you're going to the conference next week, the theme is We Are Family. And so we have a off the hook groovy kind of theme going on. If you are coming next week, you can still come to our session. We are presenting at 8 a.m. on Thursday morning. I think it's Concord Room B. So the presentation next week will use the same slides, but there are 5 of us presenting, and they will be able to share much more than just what I'm sharing today. And it's much more interesting. Plus, there'll be really cool door prizes that you can win. So even if you listen to this today, still come see us next week. If not, then this will be something you can share with others in your county, hopefully to get more people to participate in North Carolina Children's Book Award. All right, our committee has representatives from both the school and libraries all over the state. That's what makes us unique. Many states have book award committees. What makes us unique is that we are about half school librarians and about half public librarians, and that the children make the decisions. They nominate the books and they help choose the winning books themselves. So it's not, the adults are just there to kind of guide things. That has a list of our committee presenters with contact information if you were need to reach us. So the mission of the North Carolina Children's Book Award is a children's choice program that's sponsored by school and public librarians in North Carolina, and is designed to introduce children to current children's literature and to instill a love of reading. The award is notable because of all the books are nominated and voted on solely by the children of North Carolina. We've been doing this since 1992. This is the 33rd year. We even survived COVID. We had to go virtual, but we were able to vote that year and still pick a winner. So we're very proud of our history with North Carolina and the Children's Book Award. That's just a thank you to everybody who helps to share the books, because it takes all of us together to make this work. So there's some quick facts there. You can check our website for more information and updates. But the way the timeline works is that books are nominated from November 1st through about the middle of March each year. Students put in nominations. Of course, I am K2, and so if you have the younger kids, you can help them submit a nomination, but we really want the kids to nominate the books that they're excited about. The books for next year have to have a copyright date of 2023 or later. To participate, once the books are selected, and that's what our committee does, we usually have about 125 titles that are proposed as part of the what students nominate. We come together each May, we choose the 12 books for the children's category, picture book, and the 12 books for the junior category. And then librarians present it to the students. So students must read at least 5 books from the picture books. They're out of 12. And at least 3 books from the junior book out of 12 in order to vote. That way they don't just read one book and then decide to vote on that. You can read the books to the students very well with the picture books. Of course, the junior books cannot do read alouds as easy, but students can check out the books and read them. We also make sure to choose some picture books in the junior book category so that they can be shared in a library setting. They can be shared in any format: print, audio, ebook, read aloud. And then we provide the activity guide with all the lesson plans, discussion questions, book trailers, author website links, so that you can share that with your students. those are my lesson plans every January and February. So that's really cool because I know every year after Christmas what we're going to come back and do. The kids get so excited. They get so excited to vote for their favorite book. I have kindergarten. They think they're going boating instead of going voting. We have a conversation about voting and it's being a contest. And so it's something to look forward to each year in our library. The voting goes from March 1st to April 15th. And then we announce the winner. And the voting can be done in two ways. You can collect votes in your own library and then submit them. There's a form on the website, or students can vote themselves. There's an actual link in a Google form that they can fill out on their own. Once we have the winning books chosen, one picture book and one junior book, we have gold seals that can go on the front of the book. I have those here in my library. I can mail them to you. They're free. I also bring them to the NCCBA conference, so you can find me and I will be glad to give them to you. They only go on the winning titles, not all the nominated books. If you maybe are in a library where this hasn't been, the program hasn't been used before, and you want to go back and put the sticker on some of your past winning titles that you have on your shelf, I'll be glad to send you multiple seals. So it's not just for this year. I have a lot of librarians who say, we've never done this, and I'd love to go back. And so I teach my young students that if it has a sticker on the front, it's extra special, so they know to look for that. So last year's winner was Yoshi, Sea Turtle Genius, which was written by Lynn Cox. It was a nonfiction book. It surprised me that it was the winner. My kids absolutely loved it. We were able to track a sea turtle online, and they just thought it was the best thing ever. That was the picture book winner. And that one, let me go back to that for a second, had 11,013 votes out of 65,000 total votes. So 65,000 kids voted overall in the picture book contest. In the junior book contest, the winner was Otter by Catherine Applegate. We have much smaller participation in the junior book category, but we did have 5,760 votes, and Otter received 1,216 of those votes. So the winning author and illustrator from each one get a really cool plaque. They make an acceptance video, and then we post that on our website so that you can share it with your students. All right, so we're going to go through as quickly as possible the picture book 12 titles and the junior book 12 titles that are this year for you to share, and give you examples of some activities. I cannot share everything that's on all the activity guides, but that's something that you can print out and use. You'll also hear more of them at the conference session next week if you're able to come. Many of these are STEAM related activities. So that kind of incorporates some different things in that you maybe can use your other enhancement teachers at your school as well, your art and your music and your STEAM teachers, to incorporate the books if you can't read all the books yourself with the students. All right, so that is a graphic showing the 12 picture book nominees for this year. I'll give you a second to look at that. We try to choose a variety of books that represent different cultures. We try to choose fiction and nonfiction. We try to choose titles and authors that may not be as well heard of. We try not to choose things that are part of a series that kids would pick up anyway. The Dog Man, Harry Potter. The kids are going to find those on their own. We're trying to introduce them to authors and illustrators and stories that they may not know on their own. We also look for North Carolina authors. It's not a requirement, but hey, it's a plus. And so some of these I'll point out if they're North Carolina authors or illustrators. Some of them have been on the list before as well. Okay, the first book and the picture book division is 100 Mighty Dragons, all named Broccoli. The author is David LaRochelle. He wrote The Haunted Hamburger and Other Ghostly Stories, which was one of our nominees. Didn't win, but is one of my very favorite scary books for K2 several years ago. So this comical adventure, you follow 100 mighty dragons, all named Broccoli, as they embark on their own journey until there's only one dragon left, who retreats to a cave for the winter and reemerges in the spring with a special surprise. Here's an example of an activity you could do with students. You could track in Google Earth all the places where the mighty dragons traveled. You could use counters to reenact the story. And there's an example there of some little cards you could use with dragons on the cards. That title alone is enough to get kids giggling. So the next one is Buffalo Fluffalo. This was just the cutest cover to me. The author is Bess Kalb, I'm not sure I'm saying her name correctly. She wrote for 8 years on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show. So this book is entertaining. It's about a sweet and silly buffalo who tries to bluff and fluff his way into being bigger than he really is. Students could research animals in the book or learn about the life cycle of a buffalo. And I noticed the other day in the Scholastic Dollars catalog, they have the stuffed plush animal that goes with it. And I'm a lover of all stuffed plush for K2. And so I can't wait to order Buffalo Fluffalo for my library. The third title is Don't Trust Cats, Life Lessons from Chip the Dog. The author is Dev Petty. She writes Don't Eat Bees. It's part of a series. Don't Lose Mr. Cuddles. I Don't Want to Go to Sleep. I Don't Want to Be a Frog. Mike Bolt is the illustrator. He was the 2022 winner of the Picture Book Award. He wrote Bad Dog. And so in this story, Chip the dog warns other pups that cats are not their friends, among other nuggets of wisdom. Mike Bolt has hidden background clues in the illustrations. So for STEAM, you could pull out the art part of that. You could use sticky notes for partners to write about what the illustrator is telling the reader. In the example there, behind the dog, you can see that somebody has taken a bite out of the cactus. But he says that's even better than trusting a cat. So you have to look for the hidden clues in the pictures. You could have students create their own pet character and then finish the sentences like, don't trust blank because they might blank, or you can always trust blank because they might blank. I really see the kids getting into this and loving this story. Sorry, that's our bell to go home. The next one is Home in a Lunchbox. The author and illustrator is Cherry Moe. Home in a Lunchbox, here's some examples of activities you can do. I really like the activity for this one. You could create your own lunchbox filled with items that represent your own culture or family traditions. And then it lists there some different STEAM connections that go along with it, even down to math and measuring and sizing your items to fit in your lunchbox. In the story, the little girl moves from Hong Kong to America, and the only words she knows are hello. And how to get to the bathroom. She feels very lost until she opens her lunchbox and finds her favorite food that her mom sent her. And she realizes that home isn't so far away. In Ice Cream Everywhere, Sweet Stories from Around the World, it gives the perspective that people all over the world eat ice cream. You can travel the globe and discover a mouth-watering selection of cold, creamy treats. This is a great opportunity for kids to talk about their favorite flavors. This is a nonfiction selection. Students can map the countries that are mentioned in the book or graph favorite ice cream flavors. You could even make homemade ice cream. I know the kids will be excited about this one as well. In The Man Who Didn't Like Animals, which is by Deborah Underwood and illustrated by Leon Pham, there once was a man who loved his tiny home and didn't like animals. Then one day a cat appeared. And so he's very happy with just him and the cat until a dog appears. And so needless to say, the story goes on that one animal after another appears. I kind of feel like that at my house sometimes. And he decides that each one can stay for a different reason. This is kind of a prequel to Old MacDonald Had a Farm. So it's a good chance to talk about prequels with students. You could sing the Old MacDonald Had a Farm song. You could host a pet food drive for a local animal shelter. This is a familiar author. It's a fairy, an old tale retold. This is his version, retold by Mac Barnett and illustrated by John Klassen. He's known for his books, I Want My Hat Back, This Is Not My Hat, and his story about Pax. Mac Barnett is known for Sam and Dave Dig a Hole and the Kid Spy series. This story was told in Norway almost 200 years ago, and it's been told over and over again. This is great STEM possibilities because students could create their own engineering challenge. They can build a raft. They can build a bridge for the Three Billy Goats Gruff. It's a good way to discuss the rule of three in storytelling as well as in the Three Little Pigs. And there's a reader's theater script that's linked in our activity guide that you could also use to act it out. Two New Years, author Richard Ho, is a multicultural family celebrates the traditions of two New Years, the Jewish Rosh Hashanah in the autumn and the Asian Lunar New Year several months later. Students could create parade floats to attach to robots and have students code a parade route. They could use the engineering design process to construct a pagoda with different levels. You could use Legos. Our next story is Whale Song, the true story of the musician who talked to orcas. Unbelievably but true, this is the story of 2 whales, 2 paws, and 2 boys. And there's a long list there of tie-ins with STEAM, from science, talking about how sound travels through water, marine mammal sounds, designing an ethical marine habitat, nature-inspired art and music, and orca statistics. The pictures in this book are beautiful. All right, this is a North Carolina tie-in, Whirligigs, the Wondrous Windmills of Wallace Simpson's Imagination. This is by Carol Boston Weatherford. She is a North Carolina author. Wallace Simpson was a man with a curious mind, always eager to know how things worked and how to fix them. His fanciful and colorful windmills have been preserved at a park in Wilson, North Carolina, where visitors can behold the magnificent and towering creations. I have not been, but I want to go. Before I share this book in January or February, I intend to go and take a field trip there. Everything about this book ties in with STEAM. You can make your own pinwheels. You can build a structure that has at least one moving part. There are endless possibilities to go with this. I would love to take a field trip there with kids. In the Yellow Bus by Lauren Long. This one has beautiful pictures, kind of like Things in the Basement. There's a good use of color in certain places, but not in others. And I think the kids will pick up and notice on that pretty fast. Lauren Long is known for his Otis series books. That's the ones I'm the most familiar with. In the story, a forgotten school bus finds joy and purpose in the most unexpected places. Students could create a bus route or a 3D yellow bus. Older students could create stop motion animation of a bus journey. This will be a good title to share with your art teacher if you don't have time to read it yourself. In Zap, Clap, Boom, the story of a thunderstorm. This is author Laurie Purdy Salas and illustrator Ellie McKay. This is exploring the life cycle of a thunderstorm. It's a nonfiction poetry book. Students could use watercolors to create a picture of a stormy day or make rain sticks. They could use musical instruments to create the sounds of a storm. So this would be a good one to share with your music teacher if you wanted them to share the book, just to give students a variety of ways to hear it. And that, I think, is the last one. Yes, it is, in the picture book category. So for the junior book nominees, again, we have 12 nominees. We choose at least one graphic novel. We choose a couple of different nonfiction selections, so they are picture books and they're easier to be shared. And again, we're looking for authors that are maybe not as well recognized or that maybe have North Carolina affiliations, tie-ins. The first title is Ferris by Kate DiCamilla, who's famous for everything, but in my library, the kids love the Mercy Watson series, and I love Because of Winn-Dixie. That is one of my all-time favorite books. During the summer before 5th grade, Ferris Wilkie has her hands full with her little sister terrorizing the town, her Aunt Shirley moving into their basement, and her grandmother seeing a ghost, one who has wild, impractical, and illuminating plans. You could have students make their own Ferris wheel, and there's links to videos that give directions on how to do that. The next book for the junior selection is Haiku Ew, which I think is a cool title, celebrating the disgusting side of nature. This haiku book highlights 13 animals and their exceptionally icky things they do. It has bonus facts that will delight and disgust readers of all ages. Students could choose one gross character from the book, like vultures or dung beetles, and research how it helps keep our environment clean and healthy. They could have a haiku poetry slam about disgusting aspects of nature. The next selection is Hummingbird by Natalie Lloyd. When 12-year-old Olive, who suffers from brittle bone disease and has been homeschooled all her life, finally attends school in person, she soon discovers fitting in is not that easy. But if she can find the magical wish-granting hummingbird that supposedly lives nearby and prove herself worthy, maybe her deepest wish will be granted. Birds play an important part in this book. So you could pick a bird from the book and research it. And it's also a great conversation starter for how to treat people with disabilities. This is one of 2 selections on the junior book list this year that's good for that. The Last Dragon on Mars. The author is Scott. I'm not sure how to say his last name.
It's Rankin, and I can tell you that because his website is it's pronounced Rankin.com. He's got a good sense of humor.
I think he's going to be at conference next week. Someone told me that. And so this is about 13-year-old Lunar Jones, who was born on Mars. Every day is a struggle until he stumbles into a restricted military zone where he learns dragons are real, and a new dragon has chosen him as the rider. I have not read this yet, but I want to. A role he needs to embrace quickly because this dragon could save the Martian colony. It's fiction work, but he includes facts about Mars and other planets and their moons. And so you could make some dragon scale slime and learn about the different powers of the dragon. I want to read this one.
You should listen to it. I just put that in the chat. I don't think you can see it, but the audiobook is really well done.
Awesome. I think I'll do that. This is Misfits by Lisa Yee. An elite group of underdogs trained to fight crime must save their unique school from shutting down. When a notorious thief is out for priceless treasure, who are you going to call? An elite team of crime-fighting underdogs. That's who. She, of course, is a Newbery honoree. The illustrations are by Dan Suntat, and he is a Caldecott medalist. So she invents many products for the Misfits to use in the field. They look like everyday objects, but they disguise specialized uses. So you create a new gadget to help Pod 101, and then have a picture and a description to go along with it. This is one of the picture books in the junior book series. It is Narwhal, Unicorn of the Arctic. The author is Candace Fleming. You join this mammal as he jousts with another narwhal, floats with his pod, and uses echolocation to find his prey. Here's some examples of activities you could do. You could observe melting glacial ice, predict which ice cubes will melt faster, have students time the results, one in water and one not in water. And why does that happen? Why do they melt faster in water? They could research narwhals. My school has a subscription to Pebble Go, and so I love using that in centers, but also in whole group to research and find out things that might not be in the book. Could they find 3 facts that she didn't mention in the book about narwhals? The next title is Nick Blake and the Remarkables. This is part of a series, but it's not one that we've highlighted before on our list. The Manifestor Prophecy. All Nick Blake wants is to be a powerful manifestor like her dad. But before she has a chance to convince her the gift, a series of shocking revelations and terrifying events launch her and her 2 friends on a hunt for a powerful magic tool she's never heard of. To save her father from imprisonment from a crime she refuses to believe he committed. So students could design a new magical creature that could exist in Nick's world. Like what magical power would you, if you could have a magical power, what would it be? And how would you use it to help others? No Matter the Distance by Cindy Baldwin. Cindy Baldwin grew up in Durham. She now lives in Portland, Oregon. But this story is about the unexpected appearance of a dolphin in her backyard creek. Helps a 6th grader with cystic fibrosis learn to write her own story. So again, this mentions students with disabilities and how to deal with it, how to approach them. In their story, there are several local landmarks or places in the setting. The Pamlico Sound is mentioned, the Neuse River, and Havelock. So you could have students look those places up on a map. They could explore how far inland Pamlico Sound is and how far she might have traveled. And it also mentions the Duke Marine Lab, which of course is a real place in Beaufort. There's some other examples tying into the respiratory system, marine mammal tracking, designing a dolphin rescue, poetry and self-portrait project, and again, tracking how far she traveled. In Squished by author Megan Wagner Lloyd, 11-year-old Avery Lee loves living in Hickory Valley, Maryland. She loves her neighborhood, school, and the end of summer fair she always goes to with her 2 best friends, but she's tired of feeling squished by her 6 siblings. So this was about the importance of finding a balance between family and personal needs, and students could like design their own dream room to go along with what happens in the story. So this was the feature title that Molly talked about, Things in the Basement. It was supposed to be just a normal basement, some storage boxes, dust, the usual basement stuff. But when Milo is sent by his mother to fetch a sock from the basement of the historic home they're moved into, he finds a door in the back that he's never seen before. It turns out there's a whole world down there he doesn't know about. So the author has included in this book real pieces from the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. You could have students explore the gallery collection. There's a link in our activity webpage, and see how many works you can match up with the pictures from the book. I think there's endless possibilities with this one.
That's what sold me. As soon as I heard that, and like there's a video linked in the activities, and I was like, he used real art and there's like art history cooked into this. I literally went right to the library. So I'm here to promote this one. I'm just going to say.
Students could create their own imaginative monster. They could set up a mini basement world setting to bring to life. There's some STEAM questions listed there. They could create stop motion animation, simple circuits. We Own the Sky by Rodman Philbrick is a thrilling historical adventure about the rise of the KKK targeting immigrants in Maine in 1924. You can trace the route that Ruthie Renard's flying circus traveled through the states of Maine, the different towns there. There's a lot of circus analogies in the story, and so you can design a poster or flyer advertising for the circus. There's a lot of historical tie-ins to that book as well. All right, and this is probably the oldest author on the list this year. One of the joys I get for being on the committee is I get to contact the authors and illustrators and email them and say, hey, you've been selected. Your book has been selected for the award. Sometimes I get a response. Sometimes they're really famous and they don't answer me. This guy was tickled to death. He's in his 80s. He is the poet laureate for Missouri. And this is a book of poems about how creatures eat. Young wildlife lovers are invited to explore how and why animals eat what they do in this nonfiction poetry picture book collection for kids. You can see narwhals, jellyfish, hippos, piranhas, and many more species of swimming, land-based, and flying animals. You could create and make animal art, or find any of the animals in the book and research and find out a little bit more with them. Again, this is a good one for a collaboration with the art teacher. There's some more examples about how animals eat their food, making a concrete shape poem, some haiku poetry, classifying their different diet and what they eat. All right, so that was the 12 picture book selections and the 12 junior book selections. There's a contact information again for those of us who are presenting next week. All of that is also listed on our website. If you would like to contact us or find out any more information. And if you're interested in being on the committee, we constantly have people rotating on and off. If you shoot me an email and let me know, we have an application process, and I'm not sure we're adding anybody right now. I think we're kind of full, but the next time somebody rotates off, you might have a chance to join. This meets the standard on your observation instrument for contributing on the state level. And it's just fun. I don't do it for that. I do it for the joy of sharing. I love learning about all the new picture books and junior books that are coming out. I love sharing at conference. And so I highly encourage you, if you haven't used this, if you haven't bought the books yet, you can buy, I usually buy 2 sets of the books, one for me to share with the kids and another set for checkout. Permabound, Follett, they all have the sets made up easy for you to purchase. You can usually register to win a set. I won a set one year at NCCBA conference. And so to me, it's a great use of your money. The books are keeping new books on the shelf for kids to enjoy. And then it gives you instant lesson plans and activities that you can use for a couple months in your library.
Well, thank you, Lisa. This is, I'm going to let people ask questions if they have any, but I feel like this was such a good comprehensive overview. And a lot of times I think we just need to slow down and like look at these things, right? Look at the amount of good books, and then your activities that you had to share are phenomenal. Like there's so many different ways. And I like, you mentioned this earlier about like maybe give it to your art teacher to read. I think that is a really great way, to kind of think about how might, how might different teachers use these things? And I think that's really exciting. So thank you for doing that. I'm going to share, I'm going to steal screen sharing, and I'm going to share this cool whiteboard again. So if you have a question for Lisa, please be ready to ask it. I'm going to stop recording here in just a second. Or if you feel like there's something that you have in mind that from one of these books already that you want to share, that's what the whiteboard is there for. And I also put the webinar link for feedback if you want to give me a little feedback. How did this meet your expectations and what else do you need? In terms of webinars, I'm always reading those and I actually pass it up to leadership too. So they do look and see how these webinars are going as well. So that's what that's there for. I will stop recording so that if people have questions or they want to share, but I just want to say thank you again, Lisa.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention, both Follett and Permabound create posters
Yes, that's right.
here that you can pick up at conference or let your rep know and they'll get you the poster. And I laminate those and hang them up. And my kids like so excited to see what's coming next, you know. So I usually read 2 books at a time for a lesson. I kind of pick 2 that pair well together and then let them vote, you know, kind of like trial voting. And so my kids are little, but they vote for their favorite one by getting a macaroni noodle and a red Solo cup. We put the red Solo cups out, and I put the picture of the book cover on the front of each red Solo cup. They get 1 shell, so they get 1 vote, and they drop their macaroni noodle in the cup.
That's so cute.
That way they understand voting and that they only get 1 vote. So.
And easy. I think sometimes we overthink it, right? It has to be a Google form, or it has to be a you know, something they check a box or whatever. Like it really can be as simple as a noodle. Like that's so cute. If you're not, I didn't put any of these little stickers out because when I did, it puts my name. That's why there's no stickies. But if you want to grab a sticky, they should be out on the side there for you to grab if you want to put a note about what you're excited to use. And then let me stop recording now because I didn't